What if I told you that some people reach their 80s with arms that are smooth, resilient, almost impervious to the ravages of time, while others see creases and sagging far earlier? It's a striking, almost paradoxical reality. And yet, it hints at something deeper. Aging is not merely a calendar phenomenon. It is a biological process that can, in some ways, be guided, nudged, or even reprogrammed. For decades, we've been told that wrinkles, stiffness, and frailty are inevitable, the natural consequences of growing older. But what if the story we've been told is incomplete? What if, hidden within our cells, there exist mechanisms that allow some individuals to preserve youthful tissue, resilient metabolism, and vibrant energy well into their later decades? Research in genomics, epigenetics, and regenerative biology suggests exactly that. The state of our skin, muscles, and blood vessels is not only a reflection of our genes, but also of the microenvironment in which those genes operate, particularly the way our bodies manage stress, salt balance, and vascular health. Today, I want to take you on a journey into that hidden world where sodium, often vilified in conventional nutrition advice, plays a nuanced role in cellular signaling and tissue maintenance. We will explore why some seniors retain young, wrinkle-free arms, not through luck, but through the intricate dance of biology, lifestyle, and subtle molecular regulation. By understanding these mechanisms, we can begin to see aging not as an enemy, but as a frontier of potential. Ask yourself, could the key to graceful aging be hiding in the very elements we once thought harmful? Part 3, Reprogramming the Cellular Clock. Imagine for a moment that each of your cells carries a tiny clock, not one that ticks by minutes or hours, but by molecular signals that accumulate with time. These clocks govern how quickly cells divide, repair, or even die. For decades, scientists believed these clocks were immutable. Your genes dictated your fate. But what we are learning now is far more hopeful. The biological clock is not merely a countdown, it is a dial, and we have more influence over it than we ever imagined. At the heart of this clock is the epigenome chemical tags on DNA that control which genes are active. Dr. Steve Horvath's groundbreaking work on the epigenetic clock shows that we can measure biological age with astonishing precision. Surprisingly, our lifestyle choices, environment, and even subtle nutritional factors can slow or accelerate these markers. For example, regular physical activity and a nutrient-dense diet have been associated with younger epigenetic age, even in people well into their 70s. Telomeres, the protective caps at the ends of chromosomes, are another key component. Think of them like the plastic tips on shoelaces. They prevent the fraying of our genetic material. Chronic stress, poor sleep, and inflammation can shorten telomeres, accelerating aging at the cellular level. Conversely, studies from Dr. Elizabeth Blackburn and Dr. Dean Ornish have demonstrated that meditation, exercise, and a plant-rich diet can preserve or even lengthen telomeres, offering a molecular basis for aging gracefully. This cellular clock is also deeply influenced by mitochondria, the energy factories of our cells. Mitochondrial efficiency declines with age, leading to fatigue, inflammation, and tissue breakdown. But research in mitochondrial biology suggests that interventions like time-restricted eating, mild cold exposure, or intermittent fasting can optimize these energy hubs, effectively slowing the hands of the clock. So, what does this mean for someone looking at their own arms in the mirror, wondering why some appear smooth at 80 while others do not? It means that aging is not solely written in our DNA. The patterns of use, repair, and renewal in our cells are profoundly responsive to our behaviors. Every meal, every walk, every night of restorative sleep contributes to how the clock ticks. Here's a simple framework to begin influencing your cellular clock today. Movement as a reset signal. Aim for daily moderate exercise resistance, walking or swimming to stimulate DNA repair and telomere preservation. Time-aware nutrition. Experiment with a 12-16 hour fasting window to enhance mitochondrial efficiency and autophagy, the body's natural recycling system. Mindful recovery. Prioritize quality sleep and meditation to reduce stress-driven epigenetic acceleration. Micronutrient awareness. Ensure sufficient intake of antioxidants, magnesium, and omega-3 fatty acids, which support DNA integrity and cellular repair. Consider this. Every habit you reinforce can either wind or unwind your cellular clock. By cultivating intentionality at the molecular level, we are not chasing immortality but unlocking the biological potential that already exists within us. Ask yourself, if your cells could speak, what story would they tell about the choices you make today, and how might those choices ripple through your arms, your heart, and your entire being in decades to come? Part 4. Salt as a molecular conductor. For decades, salt has carried a heavy stigma. We've been warned to avoid it, told that it is the silent villain behind high blood pressure, heart disease, and premature aging. Yet, as often happens in biology, the truth is far more nuanced: sodium. The main component of salt is not simply a dietary hazard. It is a critical molecular conductor, orchestrating complex cellular symphonies that support tissue repair, vascular resilience, and even longevity. Consider the work emerging from the Max Planck Institute for Biology of Aging. Researchers have discovered that sodium influences stem cell activity, immune response, and endothelial function, the health of the tiny vessels that nourish our skin and muscles. Just as a conductor cues each instrument in an orchestra, sodium helps coordinate the timing and intensity of cellular repair. Too little, and the symphony falters; too much, and the instruments play out of tune. It's a delicate balance. One striking example comes from studies of tissue regeneration. Controlled sodium intake appears to enhance the function of satellite cells, the muscle stem cells responsible for repairing fibers and maintaining elasticity. This may explain why some seniors maintain smooth, firm arms well into their 80s. The microenvironment of their cells is conducive to repair, and sodium plays a subtle but critical role. How do we translate this into practice without overdoing it? Here's a simple framework: targeted intake, not elimination. Instead of fearing all salt, aim for a moderate, consistent intake aligned with your activity level. Athletes or active adults may require slightly more to support vascular and muscle function. Timing matters. Emerging research suggests that spacing sodium intake around meals can optimize its role in cellular signaling and hydration without spiking blood pressure. Pairing with potassium-rich foods. Sodium works best in balance. Leafy greens, avocados, and sweet potatoes help regulate this molecular dance, supporting vascular health and tissue maintenance. Hydration as a partner. Water ensures that sodium signals are transmitted efficiently at the cellular level, much like a conductor needs an orchestra to be in tune. Reflect for a moment. The very substance we have feared may actually help preserve youthful tissue when used wisely. Like many things in biology, context is everything. By rethinking salt, we move from a mindset of restriction to one of precision and purpose, an approach that empowers rather than limits. Part 5. The Microvascular Symphony. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine the inner architecture of your body as a sprawling city. Roads and highways deliver nutrients, remove waste, and carry signals between neighborhoods. Now shrink that image down to the microscopic level, and you arrive at the capillaries, the tiny blood vessels that weave through every tissue, nourishing muscles, skin, and organs. This is the microvascular symphony, and when it falters, even the most resilient tissue begins to show the effects of time. Research from Dr. William Lee's angiogenesis lab at the Angiogenesis Foundation has shown that the density, flexibility, and responsiveness of microvessels are critical determinants of visible youth. Capillaries deliver oxygen and glucose directly to cells, but they also carry molecular cues that regulate repair, inflammation, and collagen synthesis, all essential for smooth, resilient arms and vibrant tissue. In other words, youthful skin and muscle are a direct reflection of vascular vitality. Angiogenesis. The growth of new blood vessels is not merely a process of development. It is a lifelong mechanism for regeneration. Studies in both animal models and humans indicate that moderate exercise, certain phytochemicals in foods like dark berries and green tea, and intermittent fasting can stimulate angiogenesis, improving blood flow and tissue resilience. Think of it as tuning an orchestra. The instruments are there, but without a conductor and the right cues, the music of repair falters. Salt plays a supporting role here too. Sodium influences endothelial signaling, the molecular messages that direct capillary growth and responsiveness. Balanced sodium intake ensures that this microvascular orchestra is in tune, capable of supplying nutrients and clearing waste efficiently. Combine this with nitric oxide boosting practices like brisk walking or beetroot consumption, and the result is a dynamic, youthful circulatory network. Here is a simple framework to support your microvascular symphony. Movement as circulatory training. Even light resistance exercises and daily walks stimulate capillary expansion in skin and muscle. Polyphenols and vascular signals. Foods rich in flavonoids such as berries, cocoa, and green tea help maintain endothelial function, supporting angiogenesis and tissue repair. Hydration and electrolyte balance, proper water and mineral intake optimize the signal transmission within capillaries. Intermittent metabolic stress. Short periods of fasting or low-intensity heat stress, like saunas, promote blood vessel adaptation and resilience. Ask yourself, when you look at your arms or hands, what stories do the tiny vessels beneath your skin tell? Are they a map of neglect or a testament to consistent care, movement, and nourishment? Every step we take to support the microvascular system is a step toward visible, functional youth. Like a well-conducted symphony, it is not a single note or intervention that matters, but the harmony of small, consistent signals that allow tissue to thrive. And here's a gentle reminder. If this insight is resonating with you, take a moment to like or subscribe, because understanding how your body's internal symphony works is the first step in conducting it for longevity. Part 6. Stress is a sculptor, not a saboteur. When most of us think about stress, a subtle tension runs through our bodies. We associate it with wrinkled skin, sleepless nights, and a ticking biological clock. But what if stress is not always the enemy? What if, in measured doses, it is a sculptor shaping resilience, repairing tissue, and maintaining youthful vitality? This is the principle of hormesis, the idea that small, intermittent stressors can strengthen biological systems. Think of it like a bowstring. If tension is applied occasionally and in moderation, it stores energy, rebounds, and performs optimally. Apply too much, too often, and it snaps. Cells operate on the same principle. Brief bouts of stress, whether metabolic, physical, or environmental, activate repair pathways that combat aging and maintain tissue integrity. One critical pathway is autophagy, a cellular recycling program discovered by Yoshinori Osumi, awarded the Nobel Prize in 2016. Autophagy clears damaged proteins, removes cellular debris, and promotes tissue regeneration. When activated, it is like giving your cells a spring cleaning essential for keeping muscles, skin, and organs youthful. Mild stressors such as intermittent fasting, brisk exercise, or even exposure to cold or heat can trigger autophagy in targeted tissues. Stress also influences collagen and elastin, the proteins responsible for skin firmness. Short-term mechanical stress, like resistance training or moderate stretching, stimulates fibroblasts, the collagen-producing cells, increasing tissue strength and elasticity. In other words, the occasional challenge strengthens the very structure that keeps your arms smooth. Here is a practical framework to harness stress effectively. Physical hormesis. Incorporate brief, targeted exercise daily resistance bands, push-ups, or brisk walks. Stimulate repair without overloading the system. Metabolic stress. Try intermittent fasting or time-restricted eating to trigger autophagy and mitochondrial optimization. Thermal challenges. Saunas, cold showers, or brief temperature shifts enhance vascular flexibility and resilience. Cognitive and mindful stress. Meditation, puzzles, or learning new skills provide gentle neurological stress that strengthens the mind-body connection. Ask yourself, what if the tension you feel is not a warning, but a signal? What if every small challenge, properly timed, nudges your cells to repair, strengthen, and thrive? By reframing stress as a sculptor rather than a saboteur, we shift from fear to agency, from passive aging to active rejuvenation. Consider this. The very wrinkles and sagging we fear may not only be a product of time, but of missed opportunities for hormetic signaling. Every calculated stressor, every micro-challenge, becomes a brushstroke on the canvas of longevity. And here's a gentle reminder for those watching. If these insights are reshaping how you think about aging and resilience, take a moment to subscribe, because the science of longevity is not a secret. It is a skill we can all cultivate together. When we think about energy, Most of us imagine calories, food, and physical stamina, but in biology, energy is far more than fuel, it is information. Every cell in your body is constantly assessing, signaling, and responding based on the energy available to it. Mitochondria, often called the powerhouses of the cell, are more than mere generators. They are communicators, decision makers, and guardians of cellular vitality. Research from Dr. Douglas Wallace and others in mitochondrial biology has revealed that these tiny organelles transmit signals to the nucleus, modulating gene expression, stress responses, and tissue repair. When mitochondrial function declines, cells interpret it as a signal of danger. Repair slows, inflammation rises, and tissues including skin and muscle begin to show visible aging. Conversely, when mitochondria operate efficiently, they send a continuous stream of positive information telling the cell we are strong, we can repair, we can thrive. This is why interventions like time-restricted eating or intermittent fasting are so powerful. By creating short periods of energy scarcity, we stimulate mitochondria to become more efficient, to produce more energy with less waste, and to enhance communication with the nucleus. It is as if the mitochondria are exercising, becoming stronger and more coordinated with each challenge. Over time, this leads to improved tissue regeneration, firmer skin, and more resilient muscles. Exercise is another critical signal. High-intensity intervals, resistance training, and even regular walking increase mitochondrial density and efficiency in muscle tissue. This not only enhances strength, but also improves the appearance and function of the limbs. Research from Dr. Mark Tarnopolsky demonstrates that elderly individuals who engage in structured exercise show marked improvements in mitochondrial function, correlating with better mobility, skin tone, and overall vitality. Practical ways to harness energy as information include structured movement. Incorporate a mix of resistance and aerobic exercise to stimulate mitochondrial biogenesis and efficiency. Time-restricted feeding. Allow a daily fasting window of 12-16 hours to enhance mitochondrial signaling and cellular cleanup. Nutrient support. Compounds like CoQ10, PQQ, and polyphenols support mitochondrial health and efficiency, acting as fuel for information exchange. Mindful stress integration. Short bouts of controlled stress, like brief cold exposure or high-intensity activity, train mitochondria to signal optimally and manage oxidative stress. Ask yourself, if energy is information, what messages are your cells receiving each day? Are they signals of abundance and repair, or scarcity and breakdown? By aligning our habits with the language of mitochondria, we can communicate vitality to every cell, supporting the youthfulness of our tissue from the inside out. Consider this: the same mechanisms that allow muscles to lose strength, skin to wrinkle, and tissue to atrophy are also the mechanisms we can intentionally activate for renewal. Energy is not just what powers us. It is the conversation that determines how gracefully we age. At this point, we've explored a fascinating landscape from cellular clocks and sodium signaling to microvascular health, hormetic stress, and mitochondrial communication. Each of these systems may seem distinct, but in reality, they are deeply interconnected. They form a living network, constantly exchanging information, adapting, and responding to the choices we make each day. So the question becomes, how do we translate this intricate biology into something we can actually live by? How do we take these invisible processes and turn them into visible vitality, into arms that remain strong, smooth, and resilient even into our later decades? The answer lies not in a single breakthrough, but in integration. Think of your body not as a machine with separate parts, but as an ecosystem. When one element improves, it influences the others. When we align multiple systems at once, the results are not additive, they are exponential. Let me offer you a practical framework, a set of daily longevity tools grounded in the science we've explored. First, anchor your day with movement. Even 20-30 minutes of combined resistance and aerobic activity stimulates angiogenesis, activates mitochondrial signaling, and preserves muscle elasticity. This is not about intensity alone, it's about consistency. A brisk walk, light weights, or body weight exercises can act as daily signals of renewal. Second, embrace rhythmic nourishment. Instead of constant eating, allow your body periods of rest. A 12-16-hour overnight fasting window activates autophagy, resets metabolic pathways, and enhances mitochondrial efficiency. Pair this with nutrient-dense meals rich in polyphenols, healthy fats, and balanced electrolytes, including mindful sodium intake to support cellular communication. Third, optimize your internal environment. Hydration, combined with a balance of sodium and potassium, ensures that your vascular system remains responsive and efficient. Think of this as maintaining the fluid intelligence of your body, the medium through which all signals travel. Fourth, apply intentional stress. Short bursts of challenge, whether through exercise, temperature variation, or mental engagement, activate repair pathways that preserve tissue quality. Remember, it is not the absence of stress that creates resilience, but the right dose at the right time. Fifth, protect recovery as fiercely as activity. Sleep, mindfulness, and moments of stillness are where the real work of repair happens. During deep sleep, growth hormone is released, collagen is rebuilt, and the cellular clock is gently recalibrated. Without recovery, even the best interventions lose their power. Now pause and reflect. What would happen if you implemented even 2 or 3 of these tools consistently? Not perfectly, but intentionally. Over weeks, months, and years, these small signals accumulate, shaping your biology in ways that are both subtle and profound. The smoothness of your skin, the strength in your arms, the vitality in your movement, these are not accidents. They are expressions of an internal dialogue, one that you are participating in every single day. And here's something worth considering. The secret we've been searching for is not hidden in a single nutrient or a single habit. It is in the synergy, the orchestration of systems working together in harmony. When we understand this, we stop chasing quick fixes and start building lasting vitality. We began with a simple, almost unsettling question. Why do some individuals reach their 80s with arms that appear decades younger? Along the way, we discovered that the answer is not a single secret, but a constellation of biological processes. The cellular clock, the orchestration of sodium, the vitality of microvessels, the sculpting force of stress, and the intelligent language of energy itself. What emerges from this exploration is a new understanding of aging. It is not a passive decline dictated solely by time. It is an active, dynamic process, one that responds to signals, adapts to inputs, and reflects the cumulative dialogue between our choices and our biology. The smoothness of skin, the strength of muscle, the resilience of tissue, these are not just cosmetic outcomes. They are visible signatures of internal harmony. So let me ask you, if aging is in part programmable, what will you choose to signal to your body starting today? Will it be movement or stagnation, nourishment or neglect, intention or autopilot? Because the truth is, the future of your health is not waiting decades away. It is being written now, in the smallest cellular decisions your body is making in response to how you live. If there is one takeaway, let it be this. You don't need to master everything at once. Start with one signal a walk, a fasting window, a mindful meal, and let that become the first note in your own symphony of longevity. And if this perspective resonates with you, consider liking, commenting, and subscribing not just as a gesture, but as a commitment to being part of a growing movement. A movement that believes aging is not something to fear, but something we can understand, shape, and ultimately elevate.